G'day everyone, welcome to the Oz Cro Soccer Show for this week's edition. We're into episode 10. We're just waiting for our host Tunchi, who is having a little bit of technical problems, to join us. I think being episode 10, maybe the system's having a bit of a meltdown with the amount of comments we've been receiving and the amount of good feedback. So thank you everyone out there for touching base with us. We'll just have a check in on Tonch to see how he's going with it all over there and in the operators panel, and we'll hopefully be with you very shortly. Looks like our friend Tunchi is going to be making our way through some technical issues. So thanks for holding on for us. Apologies for those breaks in our transmission, and then hopefully that will sort itself out very shortly with Tunchi's magic in the background. Oh, well, what a week in football it's been, as they say in the classics, and there's a lot on our agenda today, and we'll hopefully get through it for you all. There's some FFA Cup matches underway as well, and we'll get some score updates for you very shortly as well. But first and foremost, we'd like to thank our sponsors for jumping on board and supporting us. Of course, we've got Sports Portal ILIJA to thank for their kind support of our show over the next few weeks, and joining us on this show also for this week's sponsorship is Your Business Insurance, kindly supported by Mio Chicho and his lovely wife Lydia. So thank you for jumping on board and supporting the show. Well, without further ado, just a quick score update in the Australia Cup matches. We've got O'Connor Knights over in the ACT taking on Bell North FC, and with about 5 minutes to go, they're leading 4-1. So there's Tunchi's kindly put up the splash page for us. Over down south down Geelong Way, in Melbourne Way against Moreland City. North Geelong's taken on Moreland City and down 2-1 at the 39th minute. So we'll hopefully see North Geelong turn that around very shortly. Thanks, Tonch, for that splash page, mate. Good work, mate. But without further ado, we might just break into a little bit of news throughout the week, Tonch. And firstly, we wanted to jump over to New South Wales, where we had Sydney United this week taking on Mount Druitt Town Rangers. Now, last week we mentioned Mount Druitt Town Rangers can be a little bit of a prickly customer and hard to come over. But yeah, they proved just that with a 2-2 draw with Sydney United. At least they keep their unbeaten streak going for the year. That's 2 wins and a draw for the mob out in Denzel Parkway. In and around the area, South Coast United had another loss to their season, unfortunately going down in a tight affair 4-3 to Port Kembla, and this week take on Coniston away. So hopefully they can turn their fortunes around. They're scoring goals, they just need to stop leaking them, I guess, and then they can get their fortunes on the right way. Over at Hurstville Zagreb had another win to their season, so that's 2 from 2 for them, and with a 2-1 win over Uni New South Wales. There was a nice goal there by a young Moric from a Somerset piece that we saw during the week on Facebook. Yeah, you want to?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we got you.
Oh, finally. I don't know what was happening there, but we're back in action now. So now we can... all right, mate, carry on. You're doing such a good job. You probably don't need me. I think I might have a night off.
Take it easy, mate. So just mentioning Hurstville Zagreb this week take on Macarthur Rams. And whilst we're in New South Wales, we'll speak of Newcastle Croatia, who had a fantastic hit out against Warners Bay in their first ever Australia Cup match. Unfortunately, going down 1-0 in a dogged affair, but they just couldn't convert their chances in the end. They were gallant in defeat, and the numbers around the ground, and the crowd numbers swelled to support the guys. And there's a few images there that the club has kindly put forward on their social media pages throughout the week that Tunchi's just filing through there. It was good to see the colour and flair and typical Croatian style. They're out there supporting Newcastle, Croatia, and they can continue with that passion as their season's not too far away from kick-off, and we wish them all the best for that in their preparation for that. So well done to Joshi Popescu and the boys for getting underway.
Oh, I think it's Josh Popescu's birthday today, if I'm not mistaken. So
that's
happy
right.
birthday.
Happy birthday, young man. Just the last bit of news out of New South Wales, mate. King Tom put up a post during the week also about a reminder for the dates of the big tournament coming our way this year. We haven't seen each other for a long time, ladies and gentlemen, and it's time to get together. 29th of September, it all kicks off out of King Tom Way till the 2nd of October. So get yourself organised. All the club members, work out your details, start booking in your hotels, your flights, the players who are coming, who aren't going, coaches, managers, get on board and make it a massive affair. We look forward to that. Over in the ACT, Canberra, Croatia, they went down 3-1 in their Australia Cup match against West Canberra Wanderers. So they'll turn their attention to the season starting in a couple of weeks. And just looking at the score around O'Connor Knights whilst we're in Canberra, it's still 4-1, a couple of minutes to go. So I think they've got their home and hose there, Tunch. So well done to O'Connor Knights.
And that's their first real competitive match, isn't it, Josip? So they're doing exceptionally well, and they are doing fantastically well to, get up 4-1 against Bell North, and they'll proceed through to the next round.
Yeah, absolutely. And look, if this is a sign of things to come, we're looking forward to a great season for O'Connor Knights. So well done to everyone for getting involved there. Tunch, I think we need just a little bit of a break and a quick message from our sponsors. What do you think?
Absolutely. Don't go away, folks. It's episode 10 of the Oz Cro Soccer Show.
Leggera, keep running without.
Portal. It's great to see Leggera supporting so many of our Croatian community clubs around the country. It's a great service they provide, not just because I'm involved with them, but I've known the guys there for 11 years or thereabouts now. And they've been fantastic supporters of not just North Geelong when I was there, but a myriad of other Croatian clubs around the country. So well done to the guys.
100%, mate. 100%. A big show tonight. Apologies, we have had some audio issues tonight, but I think we're back on deck now. We've got a heap of people that we're going to be talking to throughout the night. We've had to do a pre-record with one of our guests, JOHN DIDULICA. Josip, he's the author of the new book, Football Belongs, and what a cracking interview that was. Simply because tonight, Melbourne Victory are playing, who are they playing? Western United or someone? I'm not sure. But they are in action. So in that other league, other league.
Western United, and they're 1-1 at the minute.
There you go. And obviously, so we had to do a pre-record there, but a cracking interview. That's coming up very, very shortly. We've also got our club in focus today, St. Albans. Man, is there a lot of stuff coming out of Churchill Reserve. They've got the big Croatian derby on Sunday. The I&D Cup, that's coming up Sunday morning.
Mini Riz Gala Day, yeah.
Now, we've got ILIJA Dragicicevic, the president of Dinamo. One question we got to ask him, just statistics around the I&D Cup, like how many chavape, how many kilograms of meso. It's staggering. He's told me off air, it is just a staggering number. So we'll ask him about that. And then head of the juniors at Dinamo, Ivan Mioc, he's going to be coming on as well. And they've got their Plavi Mali, which is kind of like a
Mali Plavi.
Mali Plavi. What would you call that? The micro roos or the under the 4 to 6 year olds?
Intros. Yeah.
Yeah. They've got a lot of stuff happening with their junior boys, NPL, junior girls. Then there's also their academy set up as well. So that's coming on a little later on in the show. But shall we continue with some of the news?
Yeah, look, as we do head to Victoria, we'll just want to stop and pause for a moment for a dearly departed Veličasni Josip Vranjes, a fantastic servant to the Croatian community, always there when you needed him, always by your side when you had those difficult moments in life, but also in the best moments of your life. Unfortunately, after a long battle, after going into hospital with pneumonia-type symptoms, and he was unable to recover, and on Sunday night we received the sad news that he had passed away. He'll be dearly missed. Very dearly missed for his great sense of humour and his service to community and his overall care of his parishes that he was managing. So may he rest in God's eternal peace.
May he rest in peace. And there's the front page of the Croatian Herald this week, paying full page tribute on the front. Very sad news. I do believe next Wednesday night at 6 o'clock in Geelong is going to be a liturgy and a special service. And then the following night, on the Thursday night at Hrvatski Katolički Centar, Croatian Catholic Centre in Sunshine, which is what he built, and that's the legacy he will leave the Croatian community. Loved his sport, loved his soccer. Was at most of the games, and I think there's also a long-held legendary story that when he first came to Australia in the mid-'80s or thereabouts, he actually trained a few times with St. Albans Dinamo. There you go. And so it's quite legendary, actually, his love of football and his love of the Croatian community. May he rest in peace. Moving along, Josip, what else is happening in the world of football around Australia?
Well, in the world of football, well, around Queensland and Brisbane Knights had their season kick off with a 3-3 draw to New Farm United this week, last week, and now they go ahead and face Annerley on Saturday at home. Their women's team also had a draw for their first grading match and 2-2. So well done to them. Look at them, all happy, big smiles. Look at that pitch, though. Hey,
how good does it look?
Some of the pitches around here in Queensland, just blow, and they're like park pitches, right? Just blow you away, some of them. But anyway, stop. I won't digress on that. I'll go ahead and talk about Gold Coast Knights because they had an interesting indoor soccer result on Saturday night. They had a 6-3 result against Queensland Lions. So replicating indoor soccer type scores. But there was a couple of goals of the year contenders in there already. And if anyone can get their hands on the footage from MPL TV, have a look at Tipaldo's and Muratovic's goals for Gold Coast Knights in that match. Absolutely unreal.
Actually, I think you just need to go to Gold Coast Knights Facebook page, and there is a summary there of Muratovic's goal, an absolute cracker from a fair distance out. Ripper goal. And
Kai Tipaldo's is Mo Salah-esque. It's almost on the byline. He's managed to bend it in. It's just unbelievable.
Brilliant.
All right, we move along over to Victoria though now, and Strathmore got their State League One off underway, but unfortunately had a test that they didn't want to, a result that they didn't want to achieve, and a 5-0 loss. But the bright news for the week for them comes as Tom and Adam Malovic made their senior debuts. So well done to Santa and Treasure for getting the boys onto their debuts, and they're juniors from the club as well. So they've made their way through from the junior system where Robbie coached them as young men as well.
Great to see.
Yep. And over in North Geelong, we'll just do a quick score check. Tunch at half-time is Moreland 2, North Geelong 1, and it did finish full-time for Connor Knights 4-1 against Belmore, so they've officially progressed through. And North have another 45 minutes to turn their fortunes around. North Geelong kicked off their NPL 2 with a 2-0 loss to Northcote City. And their women had a massive 11-0 win over Yarra Jets in the Nike Cup, which is the female version of the Australia Cup. And in better news for the entire group, coaching and players, well done. Promotion to State League One. Now that's a
huge achievement.
That's a huge achievement. And look, the calibre of the players in that squad is fantastic, but the credit goes to the coaching staff and to the head of women's football, Maria Spehard. So to Ivan, Ahmed, Frank, Ando, all the rest in the support crew, but particularly to Maria Spehard, who's stuck to her guns into the committee at North Geelong. She's one of 5 women on the committee at North Geelong, and she has supported this continually over the years. So thank you very much, and it's great to see the girls getting up there in the higher ranks of the football world.
Yeah, absolutely. It's I do believe St Albans Dinamo are in that group as well, in that state one, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep.
So it will be a Croatian derby
this
year.
great.
That'll be great in the women's as well. Melbourne Knights are in the VPLW, so one rung above that, and then above that you've got the NPLW. Now we all know in Victoria the NPLW is set to expand in the coming years to ride on the coattails of the hopefully the success of next year's Women's World Cup to be staged here in Australia. But a club like North Geelong, and of course, we're going to be a bit biased, Josip, but we know what's going on behind the scenes, and we know the resources and the attention that is being directed towards the women's section of the club, and to go from State 3 to State 1. And that's because they've got depth, because they can field a reserves team. I've been told on good authority a lot of clubs in State 2 were asked to step up, but they were unable to field a reserves team. And North has been able to do that. So kudos to, as you said, everyone involved at the Warriors. Phenomenal to see, great to see. And we wish them all the very, very much best of success in 2022.
Fantastic. And speaking of St Albans, we'll talk more at length with ILIJA and Ivan a little bit later on. But their women had a 2-0 win in the Night Cup over Melbourne, so they progressed through to next weekend's round. As too did the Knights women, had a 4-0 win over Casey Comets. But when we speak of the Knights, unfortunately, they had a night to forget. There's a Dinamo women there. There we go.
Yep.
Well, while I speak St Albans, I don't want to overlook the fact that the big 7-1 win for the men's last night in the Australia Cup there. So well done to the men's team too. But back to the Knights. They had an unfortunate result, 4-0 at home, going down to Heidelberg. They picked up their form last night, although a little bit patchy early on against Buriram, but they came away with the 3-2 win in the Australia Cup. So lifted their spirits, no doubt, ahead of this week's big derby against St Albans over at Churchill Reserve, which we'll catch up a bit more on with ILIJA and Ivan a little later on.
Yeah, can't wait for that. And there's the photo of the Knights. So it was a tough game. Buriram Carey Eagles certainly fighting on their home turf. Turf did not allow the Knights much space. And luckily the Knights have got away. A little bit of a form slump in recent weeks. So look, just getting that win and progressing through to the next round is a big thing. So well done to the Knights. Hopefully they can get back on the winners track soon. Although tonight's guests will certainly hope it's a little bit, they can wait a little bit longer, maybe a week, and not so much this week, because all roads lead to Churchill Reserve. This coming Sunday, 6 p.m. is going to be huge. It's going to be massive. Hopefully the weather's going to be kind and we're going to be in for an absolute treat. Mate, anything else happening locally?
Yes. Look, Dandy City had a 2-2 draw against Eastern Lions, and we did talk about that last week, how Eastern Lions are going to be on the hop after being sort of belted up a little bit for the first couple of rounds. And they came up with the goods and really tested Dandy City. Dandy, when you watch the match, if you had the opportunity to watch the match, you can say Dandy had the lion's share of the game, but they just couldn't make it work up top. So 2-2 draw in the end, and they have the bye in their cup matches this week, so get a chance to refresh for themselves. Over in Tassie in the Upper Isle, Glenorchy Knights, a thumping 5-0 win over Riverside Olympic to start their year off. So well done to all the guys involved there. They're off to Devonport Strikers, so a good road trip for them awaits. Their women's team got off to a 0-0 draw against Newtown Eagles. Over into South Australia, Adelaide Croatia had their Australia Cup match, and they unfortunately went down to Vipers FC 2-1. They're continuing on along their youth policy, and it's good to see that they're backing themselves in that way. So they'll now load up for the State League action with Modbury Jets in somewhat of a local derby from up the road. That'll be a tough opposition for them, so good luck to the Adelaide Croatia team. And then we'll end it up in WA, mate. Guelph Croatia got their NPL underway. A tight affair to Perth Red Star and going down 2-1, unfortunately. And now this week they got big opposition in Cockburn City on Saturday at home at Croatia Park. Western Knights, though, their round one to start the league comes up this week. Our last week's guest now faced Quins FC at home. But in good warm-up news and something to lift their spirits for that upcoming match is they won 1-0 in the Australia Cup match against Fremantle City. Now, if you remember, Fremantle City was the team that knocked him out from the local night series. So good way to get back at him.
Good, absolutely. Oh, there we go. End of the Australian Croatian scene. So much happening at the moment. We're going to look at the Croatian scene because there's a lot happening over there, as is always the case. And there's going to be a week off this weekend from the HNL, Prva Hrvatska nogometna liga, and the Druga, as well as the BiH Liga, because it's time for the international. So the Vatreni are coming back together. But Josip, we're going to take a quick break. We've got a new business advertiser this week, Your Biz Insurance. And if you're wondering who Your Business Insurance is, a lot of people know the man and lady behind Your Business Insurance. Well-known harmonikaš based in Melbourne, ex-Sydney, Miocic. He is Your Business Insurance. Don't go away, folks. We'll be right back straight after this short ad break, and we'll be back with our interview with JOHN DIDULICA.
The last thing we want to worry about when running our business day to day, unless there is a claim that needs to be made, right? And once we have our insurance in place, we just keep renewing it. We just find it too hard to shop around. Does that sound like you? Well, at Your Business Insurance, we could save you money and get you a better deal. We'll review your current insurance and determine if you're getting the most favourable offers from the insurance market. Call Your Business Insurance on 1300 767 456. 56.
And I keep flipping out about that. It's just gone so quick, hasn't it?
It's the Maradona show.
Yes, it is. Or the Luka Modric show, if we're going to put it into those kind of perspectives, mate.
The Boban show.
Yeah, it is. Oh, another one, yeah. A big shout out to our major sponsor for tonight, St. Albans Dinamo Soccer Club, and they will be our club in focus. A little later on, we've got ILIJA DRAGICEVIC, the president, and we've also got Ivan MIOC, who's responsible for the juniors. That I can't wait to talk to those two gentlemen, the two eyes. But before we do that, it's time for our first guest of the evening. This man needs no introductions. He's a man that's very, very familiar to both yourself, Josip, and myself. Hails from the greatest footballing city in the world, Geelong. Some people may agree, some people may beg to differ. He is also the Melbourne Victory football captain, but football club football director, sorry. But tonight he joins us in a different role, that of a book author. And it's an absolute pleasure to introduce JOHN DIDULICA, who joins us now on the Oz Cro Soccer Show. JD, a warm welcome to you. How are you?
Gentlemen, I'm very well. Thank you for having me on. I feel like I'm at a dorm having a coffee or something with you guys here, so I'm in nice, comfortable surrounds.
A Julius Minor coffee, of course.
Yeah, they say
thanks for having me.
Yeah, an absolute pleasure. You've got the is that the Warriors top there on that you've got on there?
It's a collector's item from the 2020 Croatian tournament.
That never happened, mate. But
we sold a lot of jumpers, though.
Yeah, that's for sure. Now, Yeah. JD, unfortunately, because of the COVID lockdowns, the football tournament, the Australian Croatian tournament, never eventuated in Geelong. But one thing that did come out of all that was a book that you wrote, and there it is. It's your first long form book. You've written many articles over the years. Yeah, we've got both of ours. Football Belongs, 8 matches that explain Australia. Firstly, mate, congratulations on the book, and tell us the process that was involved and how it came about to actually, the idea and then the actual realization of publishing the book.
Well, thanks, Tonchi. Thanks, Joe, again for having me. I think writing a book something I always aspire to do on a personal level. As you know, you guys have done a lot of writing and journalism work throughout your years, and it's something I always dabbled in when I was quite young and always loved writing. And I had a window of opportunity professionally to put something down. But it was really important for me that I found the right mode and the right subject
Testing
matter,
one,
the
two.
right mode through which to share things that
Testing
were
one,
important to
two.
me.
Testing one, two.
One thing I've always grappled with is why I felt football, soccer was so important to my life, not just as a pastime, but as just an
Testing one,
absolute
two.
central pillar of my day-to-day life. Why so many other people shared that. Objectively looking at it, football played such a massive role in helping Australia become the country it has become, at least when it's the best version of itself. And we still sit on the outside of society. You know, if you go and have a coffee with someone, you don't ask them which soccer team do you barrack for. It's like, oh, who do you barrack for in the footy? Or did you see, what happened in the cricket? No one's default setting in Australian life is that of a football fan. And that's one of I dedicated the book to the secret society, because you guys would know what it's like growing up supporting the NSL, and it was like a secret society. It's the sort of thing you did on the weekends that you did with a secret handshake. Maybe you saw someone's surname in the classroom was Greek or Croatian or Italian, and you might wink at them and say, "Did you watch Hellas versus Knights last week?" And they might give you a little yeah. So there's this opaqueness to football in Australian life, but I actually felt it was central to Australian life. So I wanted to create not just a book, but a whole movement, I think, around putting football back at the centre of Australian life, giving people who felt like me, who felt that football was central to their life, an argument or a manifesto that they could lean on and say, hey, this is why football shouldn't be last of the bowl when it comes to government grants, why it shouldn't be last of the bowl when it comes to being in the newspapers and on the news and those sorts of things. So in telling that, I didn't want it to be a dry kind of book, so I thought through how best to frame it. And I've always loved writing match reports, and I've always loved reporting on games. So I thought that was the most engaging way to do it. So it was about picking, a series of themes that I felt reflected Australian life, and then bringing to life a footballing moment that was relevant to that pillar of Australian character and Australia's formation over the past 200 plus years as a European settled nation, not to forget the tens of thousands of years that went before that. So that's what I tried to do, stitch together what I felt were some amazing stories that people could look at and go, hey, this game is pivotal to Australia. We should be proud to be supporters of this game. We should be proud of our contribution to building Australia. But and also, what does this mean for the game over the next century? How will football continue to be relevant? How can it help Australia become the best version of itself in the decades ahead?
Hey JD, it's wonderful how you managed to put so much passion and emotion into these chapters that signify your version of events for these themes in the book. I wonder if you were as emotional as I was, and I know a few other readers and people that listen to the podcast. I spent COVID listening to the podcast before I read the book, and I think I cried every single chapter. And not because they were sad tearjerkers. It's because it took me down memory lane, but also took me down that avenue of emotion to say, what could have been, had a twist of fate been a little bit differently, had gone a bit differently. When you were writing it, did you find that emotion stir within yourself and had to gather yourself around those words?
Absolutely. I'm a massive advocate that even if you're looking to do, say, public policy, if you're looking to affect change through work or through society or whichever sphere of whatever your day-to-day life is, if you're looking to affect change, I think the most resonant way to do it is through touching people's hearts. People will, what do they say? People will forget what you said, but they'll remember how you made them feel. So what I wanted to do was really find some poignancy and some emotion to the book. It was about building an emotional anchor. And, your point, Joe, around the podcast was really important, because as I was writing this, I thought, I felt it was really strong, and I felt it created some really strong messages. But I just thought, well, imagine if people could actually hear these actual people telling these stories. That would be even more compelling. So I'd finished the chapter on the Anzacs, for example, and thought, what if you could get Ray Bartz to talk about what it actually was to be there? I've spoken to, about, the Australia-Croatia match. I've had the fortune in my life to sit down with Skokes and Joey and John Aloisi and Tony Popovich, because, I get to speak to those guys all the time about what it was like to be there on that day. And I hear their stories and I was just blown away. So I thought, I could paraphrase some of that stuff in written form and people would get a buzz out of it. But to hear it from their mouth on the podcast, I think gave it another dimension, which is the beauty of the world we live in now, is that we don't just have to communicate through a book. We can do it through various mediums. And there was a great story about, because, I talk about the Australia-Croatia game and John Aloisi played an important part in that. But he then talks about the following game against Italy, which to him was just as important as this Croatia game was to us. And he talks about how he shed a tear on the bus to the game because thinking about what his grandfather would have been thinking about this, and I get goosebumps now just listening to that. So to be able to sit down and write that stuff was a real privilege, particularly that. And it's we're all privileged that we get to, do these sorts of things within football, hear these stories. But for me, Joe, I think that the podcast, the book, it was just so important that they were anchored in emotion and anchored in trying to move people. Because that's what I want to do. I want to, I know it's a bit maybe cliched or optimistic or, whatever, but try to move people to perceive football in a special way, in a sacred way, because I think it is. I think what football's given this country through a socio-cultural lens is incredible. It's helped build the nation. So, trying to get people affected by that was a big part of it. So I'm glad to hear that, you were suitably moved.
Now, JD, I guess one of the many elements of this book is the different stories, the history behind a lot of these stories and the stories themselves. And I guess that Australia-Croatia game that you talked about, Chapter 5, multiculturalism, that one night in Stuttgart. Everyone has a story about that, an incredible story. But I guess some of these stories, and at the time I remember a lot of the soccer journalists as well as the mainstream journalists were now starting to really bring a lot of these stories of multiculturalism into the public sphere. This weekend, you're appearing at the... Oh, we've just lost JD. Hopefully he'll be back. Yep. Sorry, folks, we've just lost him. But as we try and get JD back, that's the book that we're talking about. Football Belongs, 8 Matches That Explain Australia. You are able to jump on amazon.com.au and you'll be able to get that book there. It's $18.86 or something like that. It only is available in paperback at the moment. But my question to JD was going to be, he's this week going to be appearing at the Brimbank Writers Festival, and hopefully he's going to come back very, very shortly. Here we go. We just lost him for a sec. There we go. JD, you're back.
Don't know what happened, but I'm back.
No, we just lost you for a second. So my point, JD, was going to be this week.
Went for the kiosk for some chihuahua. Now I'm back.
Yeah, yeah. As part of mainstreaming those stories, you're appearing at the Brimbank Writers Festival this weekend. Tell us more about how that appeared or how that occurred, and what's involved in your appearance.
I just had my agent go out. No, I didn't. I think, friend of a friend stuff. I think they read the book through the library community. I've also got a dear friend, Maki Kordic, whose wife, Lydia Kordic, works in the library system in the West. And, she gave me a little nudge to put my hand up for it. So that was great. So, no, it'd be good. It's you talk about the multicultural game, like doing it in Brimbank is quite fitting because one of the centerpieces of that chapter is the duel between Mark Viduka and Joe Simonich. Two guys who, although they missed each other at Summer Street by about 2 weeks, their stories are so paralleled, yet they ended up on opposite sides of such a famous game, in direct opposition to one another. So yeah, it's good doing it in Brimbank. So just a stone's throw from Summer Street, we'll be talking about. And a game that has, this cosmic dimension to it is the number of threads that coalesce around that game is just out of this world. It was the largest immigration or the largest movement of Australians out of Australia since World War II to go to watch. That's the power of our game.
Yeah.
The power it's got. Nothing else can move that. And then the mystery for me is, why does it get contained just to those major tournaments? Well, why does it happen all the time? Why doesn't that wave of passion that we have for the game wash over 7 or watch through the entire community? So that's probably the macro question that I ask throughout the book. So I offer up these chapters that speak to why football should be at the centre of Australian life, or where it has been at the centre of Australian life. Yet it never has been. It always sits on the periphery. And, I think you can really draw it back to the colonial approach that we have in Australia, is that we're still unconsciously anchored to this British worldview. And until we move away from that, until we break free of that colonial anchor, football will continue to be un-Australian. Not something that, and look, it's funny you say that. People would say, well, why would that be when England's so big into soccer? When these sports have been calcified in the early 1900s, soccer wasn't perceived or the welcome activity of the English. It was rugby union. People who had played soccer were from the lower class, so it was a class thing. It was this appealing to the English aristocracy. That set in stone the sort of attitudes that we'd see for soccer for many years. So when the first wave of footballers came in the late 1800s and the early 1900s, they were dismissed because they were lower class. When they came post-World War II for Greece and Italy and Croatia, they were dismissed for again being lower class, not because they were necessarily ethnics or Southern Europeans, but because they were perceived to be lesser than aristocracy. So it'll be interesting to see how soccer can play a role in freeing Australia from that, allowing us to be more
We seem to be having all sorts of issues. Not too sure what exactly is going on. Josip, you might have to, what we might have to do. The good thing about that interview with John Didulica is that it is on our YouTube channel. So it is already on our YouTube channel at the moment. You'll be able to see the full replay of that. Mate, I don't know what is going on. We're having an absolute nightmare tonight. I think we might try and take a ad break, and when we get back, we'll have ILIJA DRAGICEVIC with us straight after that. So the club in focus, St. Albans Dinamo. Folks, apologies for tonight. We don't know what is going on, but there is something seriously amiss with technology tonight. Maybe we're under a cyber attack, Josip.
Let's hope not.
Exactly. All right, don't go away, folks. We'll be back.
Leggera, keep running without.
Welcome back to the Oz Cro Soccer Show. We're finally back. Hopefully things are going to be a little bit better now, but it is time, Josipe, for our club in focus.
Yeah, I look forward to having a chat with ILIJA DRAGICEVIC, the president of St. Albans, and catching up from our previous conversation we had a few weeks back with him, and see how things are progressing with the club, and also to start putting some focus on the junior environment there. Welcome to the show, ILIJA.
Thanks, guys. Thanks for having us as a club tonight. And g'day to everyone out there.
ILIJA, thank you for joining us once again. It's the Vukovar Bar coming out to us from the Vukovar Bar, out Churchill Reserve. Mate, at the top of the hour, we spoke about how just so much seems to be happening at Dinamo, at all aspects of the club. When we last spoke to you, it was just before the Dandenong City Dinamo derby, the big one. A couple of wins, a couple of losses as far as the senior men's is concerned, but the season now is in full swing. Tell us what's going on at Dinamo at the moment.
Well, just reviewing the last 5 weeks, I'd say, Tonchi, we're quietly just happy where we're at. You know, we felt we probably could have had another point or two. But right now, I think quietly we're happy where we're at, and how far as we've progressed over, the period. We've probably exceeded external expectations, but internally, I think we've hit the mark, and we're probably there and abouts where we thought we'd be, and just happy to give it another big crack this weekend, and hopefully get a result against the Knights.
Yeah, look, it's got to be no doubt a massive contest for both sides. Dinamo will be looking to get back to winning ways after having a nice start to the season. Let's put it frankly, it's as you said, it's probably thereabouts close to where your expectations were. But the Knights, I think, if they put their hand in their hearts, they'll say that they're not where they wanted to be. So they'll be coming hard at you. So I think the atmosphere, one, will be electric, but the action on the park will be something to see, I believe.
Look, I'd probably agree with you there, Josip. The Knights we know what the Knights are about, and their expectations, they're always, wanting to be up at the top. Things don't always go your way, and I'm sure, they're all focusing on trying to get a result this week. But we do have the last 2 years, we do have the nudge and the results over them. So we have nothing to lose as a club. We're expecting a great day out as a community, first and foremost, and then picking up the results will just put the icing on the cake for us.
Just tell me a little bit, after that Avondale win, I think I took a bit of umbrage to hear people say that was a lucky win for your club. If anyone knows anything about football and watches that game, I could see that Crooney was setting up in a way to be a frustrating unit for Avondale. And in my interpretation of that game, Avondale undervalued what you bring to the table.
Look, in any game of football, you need some luck. Everyone's got a plan of playing, and we were trying to play to our strengths, and obviously knowing what Avondale's all about. And Avondale is a very, very good team, an exceptional team.
Yeah, absolutely.
And look, there was only one way we were probably going to set up, and that's the way we did. And obviously the luck fell our way, and we took that. Now, you don't go into a game every week like that, but that game we did, and the result came our way, and it was exciting for the club. It was exciting for the bunch of players. I mean, we all saw that, the emotions after the game, and just excitement to get those 3 points on that day was massive for us.
Okay.
Yeah. Before we go on, gents, there's a progress score from from Moreland City and North Geelong at the moment. The score remains 2-1 for Moreland City, 62nd minute, thereabouts, whatever. The game is actually being played at Elco Park, even though it is a Moreland City home game. Yeah. So, there's still about 30 minutes for the Warriors to get through. ILIJA, big game this week. We talked about the Knights. We talked about Dinamo. It's a big Croatian derby. It's going to be a big crowd. We're hoping the weather's going to be absolutely kind. But earlier in the day, you've got a massive day you've planned, obviously, with the I&D Cup. Now, the I&D Cup is a massive event for the club. Tell us a little bit more about it, what's involved, and also what are you expecting off the field as far as, let's call it the statistics of the kuhinha. How many, because it's a staggering amount, a staggering number of, let's call it food units being consumed that day.
Well, guys, to put it in perspective, it's like hosting the Crow tournament in September and having one day of it.
Yeah.
So for us, we're talking about 250, 300 kilos of meat, 40 to 50 slabs of beer. Crowd, we're somewhere near 2,000 people. We've got Mladi Hrvati, the folklore group, Hrvatska Zora folklore group. We've got over 50 teams combined through Knights, Dinamo, Strathmore, North Geelong, and Dandy City. Yep. So in total, the games start at 9 o'clock in the morning, and the last game will finish somewhere near 4:30, and then we've probably got an hour's rest before the big game with the seniors of Knights and Dinamo.
Now, that 250 kilograms of mess or 40, 50 slabs, is that taking into account the senior part of the day, or that's just the juniors?
Well, look, I think majority will be eaten and drank up until 5, 6, and then whatever's left over, the senior aspect will take over from there.
So just tell me, is it an RDO the next day, Ilya?
I think it is actually, yes.
Oh, that's worked out. That's worked out perfectly, hasn't it?
The suns have aligned and everything's falling into our favour. I just think the weather's even 30 degrees and sunny.
Well,
is that right?
Yeah.
You might need to put one of those inflatable pools up on pitch 3 or something.
I reckon.
The other thing that I really need to mention, for something like this to happen, our volunteers are a massive part of our club. And up to date, we've had an amazing response from the people at our club volunteering their time. And, we'll be here at 6 o'clock in the morning, Sunday. We'll be here all day Saturday. And we'll be here probably, till 11, 12 o'clock Sunday night, packing everything up. So it's a big opportunity for us. And we really want to show that we are part of the community and we are active and wanting to be part of the community also. So.
It's a great experience for the younger brigade to see that activity. I know Tonch and I a couple of weeks ago talked about North's Festa and seeing the next generation coming through, the teenagers now who are my kids' age and in and around that age group, getting involved, rolling their sleeves up, and wholeheartedly invest in themselves. We're talking 3rd and 4th generation, no different at Dinamo. You've got yourselves in that situation where you've got a good brigade of youngsters around people of your age and in around your circle of friends. It's great to see them being involved, mate, and it just pleases. It's pleasing to the eye, isn't it?
Well, look, I think it all comes back to the way we grew up and what our parents did for us, and it's sort of recognizing that it's time for us to step up and continue the traditions, continue the making these doors open at our club every week, so people have got somewhere to come, and communicate with people. It becomes so important for the young people, for the old people, and the ones in between. Yeah. So we're doing our part. We think we are, and we want to. We really want to see everyone down here for the game and for the day, particularly. So you're looking at about somewhere near 600 to 700 kids.
Yeah.
So if one parent comes, add another 700, and then after that, whoever's here for the senior match, quickly over 2,000 people.
It's a big day, massive day. Obviously, we're expecting a lot of people, so people do allow time. Don't leave it to the last minute and then sort of expect to get in and find a car park right up the front. Do allow time, so it is going to be a massive day. The Dinamo Melbourne Knights derby. It's a big day on the football calendar, certainly on the Victorian soccer calendar as far as us Australian Croatians are concerned. Let's take a look historically, Ilya, at some of the Dinamovci that have ended up at the Knights, and vice versa as well. But there's a long history of a lot of players that have started at Dinamo, either through the juniors or worked their way up into the seniors, and then moved over to the Melbourne Knights. Let's sort of pay a little bit of homage to that. Let's start off with a few of them that because you've sent a couple of photos over throughout the week, and let's just look at some of them that you've sent. Who's this little tacker?
That's Tommy Pontiac.
Oh wow!
Same running style back then too.
Yeah, pretty much, mate.
Yeah. Look at the buttock in the background, and now what's this photo? Where's this from?
Oh, that's Tommy Pontiac in the bottom left, right?
Oh yeah, yep.
You can see the futsa.
Yeah.
And then you got the other two. You got two brothers in there, which is bottom right, which is Jason Chelina.
Yeah.
And then up behind him in the back row is Dean Chelina.
Uh-huh.
So there's a few other ones there, which Stipa Peric, which is just behind Jason. And there's a couple more there, but that's how far back Tommy and Ollie particularly, because they lived across the road. So when you talk to Ollie and Tommy about these stuff, they actually recollect this like it was yesterday. And this is where all this information and photos are coming from.
This is great.
The albums in the back automotive.
Now, if anyone is on the watching this, and if they can actually recognise themselves or recognise someone, pop it in the comments section. We'd love to hear from them. Now
I'm texting Jason Chulina right now.
Yeah. My tip is this is Ollie Pontiac. Is that right?
Yep, that's correct.
Yeah, you can see Ollie in that one. Yeah.
Yeah. Look at the well-dressed Tute in the background, huh? And then this is Ollie a little bit later on, I'd say. And this is.
I think he's receiving player of the tournament in the Croatian tournament that was held in St Albans. I think in 1983. I think it was
83 was it? Yeah, there you go. It certainly has got the 80s hairstyle. Now we've got a couple of photos here of this particular player in Melbourne Knights gear, Ivan Kerlic, the man with the biggest calves in the history of Australian soccer.
Dave Movric will contest that one.
But Kerlic was a legend at Dinamo. He was just an absolute goal machine, and then he moved over to the Knights and became just as much of a goal machine. Incredible player. What's your recollections of a young fella of Ivo Kerlic?
Well, I used to Saturday afternoons used to venture out to St Albans Dinamo and watch Ivan put the goals away for Dinamo. I actually got told yesterday that the Melbourne Knights paid $4,000 for Ivan Kerlic to Dinamo.
Wow.
Back then, but I do remember on Saturday afternoons, Ivan scoring goals at Fox Street.
And there's another legend who made his way from Churchill Reserve to Summer Street. Ivan Juzel, whose sons now are following his footsteps, and Luca and Anthony have played both at the Knights, and Luca's now was he at Western United, I think in the A-League, yeah.
Yep.
He's a legend of a player, and he's very, very explosive, very dynamic in the midfield, and he went over to the Knights and really made a real impression at Summer Street, fan favourite. But it wasn't just Ilya. It wasn't just confined to players as well. A lot of coaches as well. There's a cracker, Rob Krajacic, who was a legendary player. He ended up. I think recently he was the technical director there at Melbourne Knights. Yossi, you would know that? Yep.
Yeah, he was, and then now he's in the senior file with under-21s at Dinamo. And he also played at Dinamo in his younger years before he went over to Bulleen, into Kings, when they're called.
Yep,
at the time, yeah. And then who can forget this legend who's done the rounds? He was the toughest defender that you would have there at Dinamo. And then he moved over to the Knights as a coach. He's over at Dandenong City now. He was a coach. North Geelong as well. Has he ever been a coach at Strathmore Split? I know he was a coach at Gorspich Bears, who are now based at Dinamo.
He played for Strathmore Split in the Brisbane tourney. I remember that one.
Yes, correct. Yes, we played together, actually.
Yeah.
Has he played for the Wednesday nights, Josip? Is that the only Croatian?
Look, VIPs only. Ilija will tell you that one. He knows the boys well there. They're down there every Thursday night.
Yeah. And Ilija, even the current coach there, he is Kruni Rajov. He's got a bit of a playing history with the Knights. I think he was a member of the Knights, wasn't he? During the old NSL days, the youth league and what you know.
Yep. Me and Crooney played youth together at Melbourne Knights, and Crooney had then gone to Dinamo. I think a year later, I had left also the Knights, and then went into the Premier League, and then ended up at Dinamo as well.
Who? Svetos Rain?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
When Sveto came to Dinamo, I came across to play for Dinamo.
Yeah.
Who was in that era? Who were some of the other players? The notable players.
Wojtek ended up leaving Melbourne Knights and coming over to Dinamo. Paul Magdic was another one.
Yeah.
Look, at the time, if you could imagine back when the Knights were at their absolute best, it was almost impossible to play in that team. As a young kid, it was really so hard, and we were so fortunate to actually learn off the guys that were probably the greatest team ever in Australian soccer. But as a young kid, it was almost impossible to play with those guys.
My brother-in-law is another one. He came over from Knights.
Right, Mio did as well. But we were just fortunate that we learnt the game off them, and then we had to accept the truth that we had to drop down a league and go play in the Premier League and go play at Dinamo and whatever. So that's how things were back then.
Yeah, so I mean, obviously Sunday's game is not just a game. I think it's also a celebration of the rich history of the two clubs and the closeness of the two clubs as well. I mean, just geographically speaking, both clubs are so close. It's amazing. But that whole celebration of that real I don't want to use the term bratstvo, but it conjures up different things. But that real brotherly, sisterly club, whatever connection, and it just goes back way back. So it's going to be an awesome. Here we go. Maxi Santic mentioned some of the names. Look at that: Čuže, Wunderl, Dragicevic, Raspudic, Radoš. It's just the who's who of yesterday. Ilija, thank you so much for joining us. We're going to take a little bit of a break. When we return, we're then going to have the head of the juniors, or the juniors representative there, Ivan Mioc, who's going to come on. Some bad news over at Alco Park. North Geelong has just gone down 3-1 with probably about 20 minutes to go. So not good result. But having said that, speaking to North Geelong coach Stuart Begg earlier today, he did say it was an opportunity to blood a lot of the youngsters and give some of the guys that hadn't had an opportunity to run. So it probably would be a bit of a reserve team, but not to worry. Ilija, thanks once again. Wishing you all the very best for Sunday and the rest of the year.
Thank you. Thanks,
mate. Have a great weekend.
At Fox Street.
Good on you.
Will do. Bye-bye.
Is the last thing we want to worry about when running our business day to day, unless there is a claim that needs to be made, right? And once we have our insurance in place, we just keep renewing it. We just find it too hard to shop around. Does that sound like you? Well, at Your Business Insurance, we could save you money and get you a better deal. We'll review your current insurance and determine if you're getting the most favourable offers from the insurance market. Call Your Business Insurance on 1300 767 456. 56.
Welcome back to the Oz Cro Soccer Show. It's episode 10. After a little bit of a slow start, after a little bit of a problem with the audio and what you're not, Gremlins, we're back. And Josip, we've got our next guest. Look at him. He's ready to go. IVAN MIOC representing the St Albans Juniors. Ivan, welcome to the Oz Cro Soccer Show. Unlike your president there, he's a veteran. He's now been on the show twice, but this is your first time on the show. So we're very pleased that you've been able to make it. How are you?
Yeah, no, I'm well, thank you. And thanks very much for the warm welcome.
Absolute pleasure.
Good on you, mate. Well, before we go on to Ivan, if Ilija appears one more time this year, he becomes a co-host, doesn't he?
That's right.
Can I second that?
Absolutely, why not? Yeah, sorry, Tonch, go ahead, mate.
I was going to say, Ivan, what's your exact role with the juniors? I know there's a lot of things that you've done in the background. We'll get to that, but what's your actual role at the moment?
Look, I'm not sure that we're really set up with exact roles, Tonchi, other than having Mick as our president of our juniors, Ilija as our president of our seniors. Really, the rest of us are really chipping in and doing our part, picking up things that are required to be done. And sometimes it's the exciting stuff, and sometimes it's the stuff at the, welcoming people at the gate. So I don't know, whatever needs to be done, we're all chipping in. There's a group of us behind the scenes that help out the club, and like any other club that's similar size of ours, it requires an army of people to make it happen.
Good on you, Ivan. And getting involved is one aspect, and the other part is getting the work done.
Yeah, that's right.
Hey, look, one thing that's become distinctly obvious in the last probably 2 or 3 seasons, particularly at NPL level, but even more so holistically end-to-end with Mali Plavi and all the way through. But I'll just hone in a little bit on the NPL, having coached against Dinamo in the system. What's become really clear is the strategy behind the club and those teams involved in that group. They've solidified some squad numbers from the early days to where they are now. Have you got that down to a particular thing, or is it a combination of activities that have created that result?
Oh, look, I think Josip, it's a combination of things. It's having a good pre-season. It's having good coaches around you. It's having a direction as a club. I grew up playing here, from a young fella to. And being very proud of playing at the club. And it was always hard coming to Dinamo to get points, even as a junior, let alone as a senior. And, there was a period of time where, I think clubs were coming at the NPL level looking for 3 points. And, quite frankly, it just wasn't good enough. And we had to put more emphasis on having good coaches, developing kids at a younger age. And actually the journey started 5 years ago with a group of us thinking about, a 5-year plan and beyond, on the development phases, and having good technical directors around to support the coaches, more importantly, and then ensuring all our coaches are qualified to support these kids' development. And so if you start at a younger age, you start to see the rewards coming in. And the first couple of years it was tough, and tough decisions were made, but I think the right decisions for the progress of the club. And I look at the progress of our NPLs. There's some really solid results, and even so in our mini roos as well. I mean, we've had some of our mini roos perform extremely well in some of the cups, recent cups, the Junior Super League. So I think it's been a journey, but it's been a facets of things that have happened across the journey.
Well, Ivan, you talk about some of the tough decisions that had to be made. Without going, I guess, too specifically or too much into it, what were some of those tough decisions involving? Was it the parents? Was it the quality of the coaching? Was it something else? What was the priority to address back then?
I think it was coaching. That's probably the biggest emphasis, and having the right technical directors. And we've made some recruitment errors in terms of having the right fit, and not just in terms of capability of the coach, but also cultural fit into the club as well. And so as a committee, we quite often reflect and think about our decisions over the year, and spend a lot of time trying to fix that and make better decisions in the future. But mainly it's been about having the right technical support, having the right coaches, coaching the kids who can interact and understand the culture and the community.
Yeah, just a quick before we go on, just a quick update in the Australia Cup. Moreland City 4, North Geelong 1 with only about 7 to go. So looks like the writing's on the wall there for the Mighty Warriors.
Yep, they'll be focusing now on the league, that's for sure.
That's it. So just on the back of that junior development, the other aspect that's becoming quite clear and growing as well is from the junior girls into the senior girls. We see the senior women have now in State League 1 these days, and it'd be great to have a derby with the North Geelong girls this year. So that's going to be a fantastic contest at least a couple of times around. But seeing the 15s, and I know they have the hybrid groups, the 15s, 16s, 13s, 14s. That seems to be going well as well.
Yeah, look, I mean, we'll have two under 12 girls teams this year for the first time in probably ever, which is encouraging. We've got a 15-16 squad which will play in the under 16s, and you know, we had a meeting with the senior girls. It was only a couple of weeks ago, 3-4 weeks ago. They're quite excited about the season ahead. Yeah, so I think we've got to continue to build on that. I think obviously that was a photo from the Night Cup.
Yeah.
And so look, we'll continue to build on that. I think you know, the challenge that we face into around the junior girls aspect is, and even in seniors, is that finding good coaches that can relate to the game and help with the girls' development. And so, as a club, we're continuing to review how we do things, and you know, we'll build on it. We'll continue to build on it. That's for sure.
Excellent. Now, with regards to the coaching in the female teams, is that being well received, and is that growing as well in interest?
No, well, I think culturally as a country, I think we can do more to promote that diversification of coaches moving into senior women's more broadly. You know, I think it's not just a challenge for community clubs, but I think it's challenge more broadly for us as a country. So I think there's more we can do there, if I'm honest, and you know, we'll continue to put focus on it. Jospe.
Yeah, good work, mate.
Good stuff. Ivo, we touched on the I&D day with Ilya and talked about how big of an occasion that is, how big of an event that is as well. From your point of view, how do you go about, where do you start when it comes to organising something as big as that? Like we heard Ilya say, it's like a Croatian tournament, one of those days. I mean, it's massive. Obviously, it's massive.
Yeah, I mean, Ilya said it was 50 teams, 51 teams is the biggest we've had. And, you know, the opportunity to engage Hrvatska Zora and Mladi Hrvati, I think, is just taking it to another level. And it's broadening the engagement of the community. You know, we kind of interact with the clubs first, and we seek engagement. Every year there's a change in number of teams that are participating at different levels. So, you know, I think starting with the clubs and understanding the level of participation, then to go through the scheduling and that becomes that's probably our biggest challenge, to be honest, is you've got 3 grounds and you've got something in the vicinity of 80 odd games on the day, and trying to make it work where you got quarter pitches, half pitches, and then you got full pitches. Just to make it work logistically is challenging. And so, you know, Ilya alluded to earlier, Tonchi, around the volunteers. You know, we will have volunteers ready to go to convert grounds from quarter pitch to half pitch in moments. So everything will be done through, you know, an air horn. So we'll make sure the games are all synchronised accordingly.
Yep.
You know, it's all well structured. Otherwise, it just quite quickly gets out of hand. Every game that's delayed 2 minutes, it quickly adds up after 80 games. So we've just got to make sure that we're well coordinated and well structured throughout the day. And, you know, this is our fourth one, I'm going to say. And look, you know, I hope it'll run as smoothly as the previous ones.
Yeah, absolutely.
Just on that, 51 teams. So, Tonch, just to give you a perspective, I'm not sure if you're totally okay with the numbers with the previous 2 tournaments before the COVID breakout, but Gold Coast had 58 teams and Dandy hosted 54 teams. But this is all happening in the one day, right? Then you got the senior get up with the 21s on the same day. So you got 55 teams performing on that day at Churchill Reserve. it's a massive effort. It's a credit to people like yourself, Ivan, and the crew that are helping out on over the weekend. We do wish you all the very best.
Thank you. Yeah, no, it takes a village, right? And you know, we've got a great crew behind us. Our parents have been fantastic and have been, you know, very supportive of us. And you know, from being in the cooking yard, as Ilya alluded to, from 7 o'clock in the morning, cutting up bread rolls to, you know, helping us pick up the rubbish at the end of the day and putting the goals away. There's no way, a committee would be able to do that without the community behind us and our members. So, a lot of praise to them.
Mate, we'd love to chat more, and I'm sure there is so much we could talk about. We haven't even touched on a few topics we would have loved to have talked to tonight. But our time is really getting past us. And you're going to probably need to go straight to bed so you can start getting ready for the preparations. They're going to take ages. Mate, thank you so much for joining us. We really wish you all down at St. Albans Dinamo the very best of luck for Sunday. And obviously the season beyond, but it's going to be a huge day. It's going to be a beautiful day, and make sure you got a lot of those ice creams and Zupa Dupas for the kids. I think that's going to be, they'll probably sell more of that than the slabs of beer by the end of the day, I reckon.
Get the St. Albans Fire Brigade with the hose to keep everyone cool.
Yeah. Hey, that's a really good suggestion about the Super Dupas. See, fantastic. The crew behind me are high-fiving.
They're going to get the vodka ones.
Ta-ta, can I have a Super. All right, here's $10. Go get it yourself. Well, anyway, all the very best, mate. Looking forward to our Sunday. Should be a ripper.
Excellent. Thanks very much, boys. Take care.
Thanks, Ivan.
Good on you. Absolute pleasure. Ivan Mioc from the Juniors down at St. Albans Dinamo. It's amazing what every time you want to just shush the kids up, here's $10 and go get yourself some Zupa Dupas. But
absolutely. I will say, now that Ivan's off the air, I will say, when you go down to St. Albans, Ivan's one of those faces that when you see him, he's always got the biggest smile on his face, and he just greets you so warmly every time you come to Churchill Reserve. So it makes the journey worth it just for that.
Yeah, absolutely. Josip, we're really almost out of time. Before we go, a little bit of news about the Croatian international teams. The under-19 team that is managed by our very own Josip Šimunić. That is going to be, that's happening on tonight. I think it's around if I'm not mistaken, in about 10 minutes' time. The under-19 Europsko Prvenstvo, or the qualifications. That is available on HNTV for those that are able to get Croatian television, or also on the YouTube channel as well. So the HNTV YouTube channel, as I said, that's kicking off in about 10 minutes' time. A very, very important game for Croatia up against Iceland. And then the Vatreni are back, and they've got 2 friendlies now in Doha. Sunday morning, 1 a.m., up against Slovenia, and then on Wednesday against Bulgaria. Since we've already qualified, we don't have to worry about the playoffs or whatever you want to call it. So every one of these little games, friendly games, are oh so important for the Croatian team. But that's going to be an important one. And obviously, you can't forget the Socceroos. They've got a very important game, basically a do-or-die game, happening tomorrow night.
Yeah, tomorrow night against Japan, mate. That's going to be really tense for them.
It's an absolute must do or die. But you know what, mate? My theory is the reason why the Socceroos are struggling, they've only got one Croatian in the squad.
Bez Hrvata nema zlata.
That's it. Exactly right. Absolutely right. Mate, what a huge show it was tonight. We've almost gone an hour and a half, and it would have been so much smoother if it wasn't for those little audio gremlins at the start. Folks, apologies for that. The full interview with Josip, with JOHN DIDULICA is available on our YouTube channel now. Oz Cro Soccer Show YouTube channel. Go on there now. It is there. We might even be able to put something up on our Facebook page tomorrow, a link or something like that. But it only goes for about 22 minutes, I think, Josip.
Yeah, not even, mate. I think it's a little bit under that.
But it's well worth listening. It's a brilliant book. I know. Have you got that book handy there? I don't.
Yes, I do.
Football belongs. Several really good stories, and there's a whole chapter devoted to that game when Australia took on Croatia in Stuttgart, 2006, in June 2006.
if you're that way inclined, Tunch, and this week is Harmony Week and all about cultural diversity, just read that chapter about multiculturalism.
Yeah.
Enough said in there.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And John will be appearing at the Brimbank Writers Festival this Saturday morning. If you go on the Brimbank City Council website or just Google it, all the details are there. Episode 10, it's been a whirlwind trip, mate. We will be back next week for episode 11. Things will be back to normal, hopefully, with all of our audio issues. But until then, mate, have a lovely, lovely week.
Thanks, Tunch. Thanks, viewers. La Noche.
La Noche.